scattered wintry showers, cold early tonight with frost in places as temperatures fall to between -1 and +1 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello, you're welcome along. It's Tuesday evenings Off the Ball. We have Champions League knockout stages. They are back, and we have Spurs away to Juventus. Kevin Kilbane will join us at full time from Turin. Manchester City also in action this evening. They're away to Basel. We will, for something different, hear about the life and times of Arthur Ashe. Everybody, I'm sure. Here's Arthur Ashe Stadium at the US Open. It's 25 years on from Ashe's death. He lived a remarkable life, really, in many ways. So we'll talk to his biographer just after 8 o'clock or so. Plus, good news, everyone. Kenny Cunningham is in the building. Hello, Kenny.
Good news for some, not so good news,
it's good news for
the majority.
Everybody's delighted. There's cheering and rapturous applause up and down the country right now, just for your sheer presence.
Well, as they switched their radio station off.
That's not true.
Richie McCormack here as well. Hello.
How are you, Joe? You alright?
And can I just say of Kenny, he came in and, touch of class that he is, brought some coffee slices for us all. Thunders, of course, but came in bearing gifts. We haven't returned the favour. These things happen.
Yeah, don't give me too much. Yeah, don't give me too much credit for that,
okay,
Joe, because I found through experience that.
I thought you were going to say you found them somewhere.
I did find them somewhere in Drumcondra on the way in, on the parade of shops there. No, but really, you can't walk into a work environment with a cake just for yourself, sit down and actually eat it in full view of everyone. You can't really enjoy, can you?
It was the 4th or 5th time you discovered that, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so eventually I thought, well, no, I'm going to have to bite the bullet here and buy a few more cakes so I can actually enjoy my own cake. Yeah, exactly. It is a selfish thing. But
you know what, you're being harsh
on
yourself there.
No one's selfish element to it.
No, you could have eaten the cake before you came into the office. You could have sat around the corner,
and had
your cake, and then came in and sort of wiped your mouth and say, all right, lads.
Would have loved the stream of text that would have started this show. I was going, about 5:15, saw Kenny Cunningham stand by Stephen's Green, stuffing a coffee slice into his face. It couldn't be.
Has happened before. It has happened.
How have you been, Kenny? It's been a while. When were you last in here? Pre-Christmas?
It's got to be, pre-hibernation for me. Over the Christmas, New Year. Yeah, it must be a couple of months.
But you're back now. You re-emerged with the Champions League. Is that how you operate?
Pretty much, yeah. The big games come around. Bang.
Big game player.
I arrive.
Yeah.
Some interesting news, Kenny. I just see the breaking news in the last few minutes is they've decided the Premier League package for the TV rights. It is always important stuff. Like, this will dictate the next 2019 for the next 4 or 5 seasons. So the word is that Sky Sports have won big, Kenny. They have taken 128 live matches a season from 2019 on, with just one of the packages going to BT Sport, who get 32 live games a season. So they're up from 126 to 128. I make it Sky Sports. They'll get the first pick every weekend. The best game they'll get to pick. Yeah. They'll have your Saturday lunchtime. Do you like a Saturday lunchtime game?
Not necessarily, no. I've struggled a little bit on those. I must admit, I'm a little bit more likely to tune in later on, the kind of late afternoon one, 5:30. Saturday morning, that's always a little bit of a rush.
You're not having the 12:45?
Not so much, no. Even in terms, I think the quality of the football at times, it can be a little bit hit and miss. You know, traditionally that early kick-off on a Saturday, very few games for me hit the ground running. You get that kind of all-action, high-energy type game maybe that you see later on the weekend. So, no, I wouldn't be devastated at that.
Is that because the players find it harder to get going that early?
Harder to get out of bed?
I don't know. Like, do you have to get up and eat earlier? I mean, I remember a few players
been going, for long.
Shows the system a bit. But then I think they train every morning. So surely their rhythms should be used to playing at that time of the day.
Yeah, the difference between training and then the full intensity of a league game.
And you never settle into it.
I think it's psychological. I think there's a psychological aspect to it. Some people deal with it better than others. I think just generally the kind of atmosphere around the ground as well, the energy levels in and around the stadium is the same for everybody, I think. Get to the ground early. Do you know what I mean?
But then again, you never get used to it. It's not as if you have a run of 12:45 kicks off of a Saturday. You do one once a month, say, and then you're back to the 3 o'clock to 4
o'clock. So did you not like them? You kind of thought, I don't love this when you get up on a Saturday or when you see it coming.
Well, because I couldn't go. Yeah, because I had to ease off on the bacon and sausage. You know what I mean? With it.
The custard
when you get your 3 o'clock kickoff, could always get up and have I used to have a big breakfast. I didn't have a pre-match meal. Obviously, most of the lads would have a pre-match meal at 3 o'clock kickoff, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and have their breakfast as well. Where I used to go big breakfast and skip the pre-match, so I'd be kind of cereal, fruit, yogurt, and then of course you get the whiff of the hot food coming out. I wouldn't say I went over the top now, but poached eggs to be on order, maybe a slice of bacon. Nice. No pudding, very very limited pudding options over in the UK pre-match, unfortunately. Yeah.
They don't do pudding well over there.
Sadly, yeah.
One of the strange things is they don't do it well. Put it that way.
I used to bring back in the day when I went over. I used to bring your pudding over on the planes. So it was never an issue, was it, bringing the food over? Well, that would have been 25 years when I first went over. Rings of pudding sausages. My ma they used to be packed in the luggage compartment on a.
Surely they did sausages
would have been right there.
English sausages would have
been. No, their Irish recipe. Their Irish recipe, which is nowhere near, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, nowhere near.
I've had sausages of Grim Stag Weekend over in the UK, and they've tasted okay. No.
If they're sausages in a Grim Stag Weekend, Joe, you want to be able to savour the sausage.
And so, what would be served with what's the pudding? What's wrong with the pudding?
It's just flavourless, bit grainy.
The white pudding in particular, very rare. I never saw any white pudding for a few years when I went over there. Black was the only option. Even that was tasteless almost. Yeah.
Is that right?
Joe, come on.
I didn't know any of this.
That's a fact.
Is that a fact?
That's common knowledge.
Or is that not literally the
anybody
most
who spent any
subjective thing of
time,
taste?
anybody in this country who spent a bit of time, work, university over in the UK for a period of time over the years, of my age in particular, will know what I'm talking about.
Well, you know what? I'm going to throw that out to the listeners, because I'm actually not so sure. I hadn't heard that before ever. You're literally the first person that said.
I remember lying on me bed in me digs. My first year that I went over a teammate of mine, Mark Madden, at Cherry Orchard, with short-term contracts, and we're both squeezed into the small bedroom, single beds, £50 a week digs money. I remember lying back, pillows on me bed late afternoon, looking up the top of my wardrobe, stacked with boxes of Morrow bars. That my ma, she wouldn't have smuggled them over, but literally physically brought these over, 3 boxes, and I don't know how many would have gone in the box.
Not get Morrow bars in England?
No.
Surely the Boost was a Morrow bar back then anyway.
Yeah, back there, that came along obviously. Yeah, that came that came later, but at the time Morrow bars was a huge wrench.
Really?
That was that was a big miss.
Rings of pudding and Morrow bars. What made it
batch loaves. I could go on and on. Coffee slices. We've just been talking about an hour ago.
Hang on, sorry. They
didn't last the trip. They didn't last the trip over coffees. You couldn't be wedging them into your carry-on back.
Stop talking for a second. Do they not have coffee slices in the UK?
No.
They do.
No,
you're going too far there.
Not super queen. Straight out the oven, bang, straight to the front.
Right.
Straight to the front of the shop in the bake.
What would they have?
No.
They don't have bakeries in the UK.
Bread and cakes. That was huge for me. Probably not a bad thing when I went over. I'd probably repeat myself. Probably said this before, but I used to eat a huge amount of bread when I was growing up, like batch loaf, not the heels. Ma bring back the batch cut a big heel, open it up, eat the heel, flip it over, go for the heel down the bottom, wrap it back up again, flip it back over, put it back in the bread bin, so nobody's aware of it till they dug down right at the end. Then there'd be murders. But yeah, bread was a big thing for me when I went over things. I missed it. Vienna rolls,
toast.
No, just Vienna rolls. That fresh bread. Not going to the Super Queen. The bread coming out. Breathe it in.
Do you know the way they got the O'Donovans? That egg contract. Can we get him for Irish bakeries?
So were you very homesick when you went over? Sounds like you were the way you're talking.
No, I wouldn't say. No, not homesick. Not from an emotional point of view. But yeah, certain things I certainly did miss. Yeah, love me food obviously, but in small things that may not seem much we laugh about them. But it's important. So when people used to bring them over, whoever's coming over, they'd have a hit list that they'd have to bring over, tick box as soon as they came in the door. It'd be just to decide, well, what have you got for me? Tick box, Morrows, bread, black and white pudding. And once that was done, right, how's it going? How are you?
It's like that scene in Shawshank Redemption where they're smuggling in cigarettes and all these kind of things.
Currency. Yeah. Got me through some dark hours.
Dave in Ballyfermot's in touch. Jesus, Joe, are you on another planet? You have to get the old Granby sausages and white pudding, bring them over, then mill into that with 2 buttered slices of batch.
Oh, now you're talking. And butter's another thing. Over the last couple of years, I've gone back because I wouldn't have tasted butter for about 15-20 years. And it was one of the worst decisions. Well, when I went over to the, diet, look at your diet, etc., etc. You go to a professional football club.
Yeah.
So immediately it's kind of, you got to cut out butter, fat, high in fat.
Yeah, sure.
Which I did for the best part of 20 years. It was the worst decision I ever made.
Why?
Because you're eating all these kind of margarines and useless, absolutely
butter's
useless.
Butter's now back.
Exactly, with good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this information wasn't out there back in the day.
No, but do you ever
You'd be ridiculed if you put a bit of butter on your bread over there. You'd be laughed at. You professional butter, that type of thing. But in effect, in terms of what they're putting in front of you, these kind of margarines and stuff, you would have been far better eating the butter. It's kind of pure and strong. True. So I've got back on it, like Kerry Gold.
Good.
And is that changing your what's that like?
I don't even have to describe
it. It's tough to spread that though on bread.
Butter.
It's tough to spread on the bread though. Do you put it in the fridge?
How's that doing? What's the share price?
You leave it at room temperature.
What's the share price, Kerry?
It's gone up now, I tell you.
Must do.
You don't put it in the fridge though, because you can't spread it if it's in the fridge. Room temperature.
Yeah, no, room temperature, yeah. Although there's something nice about toast, putting the butter, if a cold slab of butter on top and just watching it work its way across the toast slowly.
So true.
Yeah,
it's so true.
Meditative.
As God intended.
How did we get onto this? Oh yeah, Sky
TV
Sports.
rights, Joe. TV rights.
My rights.
Sorry. So Sky have the Saturday lunchtime kickoffs. They also have Super Sunday, obviously.
Double bills.
Yeah, double bills. The 1:30 and the 4:00 on Super Sunday. They will have Monday night. Monday night continues on Sky. Friday night continues on Sky. Oh. No one really cares. And the New Frontier, Kenny, Saturday night matches on Sky Sports. Now, I mean Saturday night, because on BT they'll still get that 5:30 type kickoff.
Yeah.
But I'm talking I presume it'll be 7:30, 7:45 territory on a Saturday night. That is also on Sky.
Yeah, I can see that one working this Saturday night. I would have liked to have seen the Friday night one go. That's too much for me. It
hasn't worked, has it?
No, I think particularly what you're getting the lead into your particularly Champions League week.
That's been a whole lot of
Europa Thursday. I always like that little bit of it, even a small break one day. Those Friday night games for me, I just haven't been able to.
Same, actually.
No enthusiasm whatsoever. So Saturday night for me might work, but I couldn't be watching those 3 games on a Saturday. Even that double game on a Sunday now. Say for the last year or so, Rich, your heart hasn't been in it. Yeah, I've been picking and choosing those games on a Sunday, even recording, going back to it later, watching, looking at the result of the game. I thought I want to go and watch the game. I have it on tape, I will do.
Yeah.
That double hit on the Sunday now, not so much for me. So that's Saturday night one, yeah, definitely.
We should get a move on. So it's a huge night in the Champions League. Richie, you've got the teams they're in.
Yeah, the last 16 gets underway tonight. 2 Premier League sides away from home. Tottenham looking to take their revived domestic form to Turin, where they faced last season's runners-up and current Serie A contenders Juventus. Juve have conceded just once in their past 16 competitive games. The teams are in for this one. Gianluigi Buffon starts in goal. A back 4 for Juve of Matteo De Cilio, Giorgio Chiellini, Mehdi Benatia and Alexandro. In midfield are Sami Khedira, Miralem Pjanic and Federico Bernardeschi, while Douglas Costa and Mario Mandzukic are either side of Gonzalo Higuain. For Spurs, 2 changes for them for the North London derby win over Arsenal. Kieran Trippier and Heung-min Son are the players to miss out. So Hugo Lloris starts in goal. They've got Serge Aurier and Davinson Sanchez, Jan Vertonghen and Ben Davies making up their back 4. In midfield are Eric Dyer and Moussa Dembele. In front of them, Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli and the returning Eric Lamela, with Harry Kane up front. And Spurs boss Mauricio Pochettino has been outlining what we can expect from his side tonight.
I think the team always keep the same principles. We are going to be aggressive, we are going to be brave, we are going to try to win, and always with massive respect to the opponent. And for me it's a game to enjoy.
So a game to enjoy, says Pochettino. It's the first competitive meeting between Spurs and Juventus. Spurs have reached the knockout stage of the Champions League. It's their second time in 3 years they're here. They have never progressed past the quarterfinals. You looked at that team, I noticed when it came in, and said Lamela.
Who? Yeah, we know who he is. It did surprise me a little bit.
Instead of Son.
Yeah. I mean, you could say maybe a small little dip in terms of performance from Son of late, but his stands have been that high prior to that. He's probably been Spurs.
He's most of a consistent player.
Yeah, definitely, because
most
even
overrated, underrated player.
Yeah, because there was a time of the season there when even Eriksen and certainly Ali's form dipped, and he was the one who almost carried them for a period of the season. So yeah, really surprised at that. The Serge Aurier coming in at right back, not so much so. I think he knows Mandzukic will operate from that side of the pitch, that inside left position, probably a little bit more physicality earlier in terms of dealing with that threat from Juventus. So yeah, Lamela one, even in terms of shape, whether that'll affect his shape so much, I wouldn't expect so. I'd expect Lamela and Eriksen to operate off the flanks with Ali just in behind Kane, but there is a possibility he could throw Eriksen into a tight midfield three and behind, so that'll be interesting tactically, because he does surprise you now and again, Pochettino. If you remember back to the game at the Bernabeu when they went over there, he threw Kane up from Llorente on that particular occasion. So yeah, tactically interesting how they set up.
Well, Harry Kane's been talking. Toughest opponent he's ever faced, Chiellini. He played against him back in March 2015, and he had just made his debut for England at the time, Harry Kane. He was talking this week, and then he came up against Chiellini, and he was saying, it was my first touch. He gave me a dead leg for about 10 minutes. I was a young player coming through, doing really well. He was obviously a great defender, very experienced. It was a kind of welcome to international football moment. So that's Harry Kane's memory of Chiellini. He saw him and he gave him a dead leg and just roughed him up a bit in that first game, which I thought Kenny Cunningham all over that.
I'll tell you what, that's a sad indictment. If you'd have asked an English centre forward, say 5 to 10 years ago, the toughest opponent, you never would have heard an international footballer mention. It would have been someone operating in the Premier League, predominantly an English defender. I'm talking about the likes of John. Yeah, well, I'm talking even John Terry, from my say Carricker, Woodgate, Ledley King. Was loads of them, like half a dozen more. You wouldn't have looked any further than that. So interesting. He throws Chiellini's name in. Oh, you're very good defender. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't. It's difficult to talk him down, Chiellini, to be honest with you. But I don't quite have him up there in terms of top shelf, in terms of defenders over the last couple of years. I was always a huge fan of Bonucci. Right. I mean, Bonucci hasn't had a great season at AC Milan. Watched a few of the games. He's dropped off a little bit. Maybe time catching up with him a little bit. But yeah, very good defender, uncompromising, Chiellini.
So in that context of, you do think he's a very good player, but you don't rate him in the top echelon, what might he be missing?
I think the best defenders for me are the best decision makers. So where I couldn't talk Chiellini down in terms of the physical aspect, he likes to get make tackles, goes and attacks the ball, reasonably comfortable with the ball at his feet. Wouldn't say he's embarrassed with the ball at his feet. So he could tick most of the boxes in terms of Chiellini. That's what I'm saying. I think he is kind of top class defender. But just for me, maybe a little bit overly rash at times. That kind of desire to go and make the kind of big tackle and
to always be the character.
Yeah, be the man. Sometimes that can affect your decision making. You could say it's a bit of an ego thing, whatever it is, but that's a decision making thing. Generally speaking, you've got to be calm in your head, and sometimes the best decision is to take a step back, to drop into the space, not always to go engage to make that big tackle. That big tackle, or feasibly to go and impose yourself. So I just think on occasion a really clever centre forward, and Harry Kane's one of them, can sense that and they can lull you ill and play on it.
On that interesting point of English centre halves, I was in a kind of Facebook black hole a few days ago, and there was all BT Sport of loads of little clips of their pundits talking, and I came across Rio Ferdinand, and he was saying that there was a time, he said 06, 07, 08, maybe 09, where he felt he was the best defender in the world. If he was being honest, he was kind of asked, did you ever think you were the best in the world? And he said, well, look, I did, to be honest. I did think I was the best in the world. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. I went to see Manchester United a few times when Ferdinand was in his pomp, and he looked unbelievable to me. I mean, it was Rolls Royce kind of territory. He was faster than everyone he came up against. He was totally in control. And yet over here, I do remember, the Dunphy Giles kind of, he doesn't like heading the ball, Bill. That was kind of a thing thrown at him. How highly did you rate Ferdinand? I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, very highly. No, I wouldn't overly argue with that. I remember a World Cup, was it 02, 06 when I felt he was up there. He really was. Right. But again, that kind of core group of defenders who were around at that particular time in England, it depends what you prioritise, I suppose. If you're asking me who's the best all-rounded defender in terms of his defensive makeup, his ability on the ball, comfortable in terms of stepping forward and making a contribution, kind of in possession, maybe so. That's probably a stronger argument. But if you look at purely his defensive attributes in terms of tackles, headers, sense and danger, reading the game, all that type of thing, I think there's a few players I would have put a touch ahead of him. Terry, obviously. The likes of Ledley King I would have put ahead of him. I was a huge fan of Jonathan Woodgate. I know his...
Really?
Yeah, I was a huge fan. For me, Woodgate was as good as anybody.
If you'd avoided injuries,
he was as good. Probably as good as them all, if not the best, actually, for me.
Yeah, wow.
And I remember when he went to Real Madrid, people won't remember, he only stayed there for a small period of time, but he got a run of games, probably around 9-10 games at Real Madrid. I remember looking at him thinking he was absolutely outstanding in that kind of environment at that football club at the time with the players that they had. He absolutely excelled. That's how good he was. Unfortunately, his body just let him down. So again, I wouldn't argue with that comment from Ferdinand. Yeah, but for me, that kind of, maybe it's just me when I look at his centre half now. How good is he as an actual defender? Out possession of the football. Even Vidic, when he played alongside him, for me, I probably would have leaned towards Vidic for a small period of time at United for those reasons. But in terms of Ferdinand's all-round game, yeah, absolutely. He was pretty impressive.
Where are we going, Rich?
Yeah, we'll go to St Jakob Park, where Manchester City are looking to become the first English side to keep Basel scoreless at home in Europe. City start with Ederson in goal, a back four: Kyle Walker, Vincent Kompany, Nicolas Otamendi and Fabian Delph. Kevin De Bruyne, Fernandinho and Ilkay Gundogan are in midfield, and then that front trio of Bernardo Silva, Sergio Aguero and Raheem Sterling. Both of those games have 7:45 starts. Tyke Furlong has moved to allay fears about his hamstring injury. The tight head taken off early in Ireland's 56-19 win over Italy last Saturday, but Furlong joined the lads in the OTB AM studio this morning and says he expects to be fine for the visit of Wales.
Felt a bit of tightness in the hammy, more of a precaution. You probably don't want to stay on and risk the further injury, so feels good, and extremely hopeful for available for selection for Wales.
That is good news all round.
France head coach Jacques Brunel has dropped 8 members of his squad for their meeting with Italy. The likes of winger Teddy Thomas and veteran back row Louis Picamol are being punished for inappropriate behaviour. Centre Remy Lamrat out half Anthony Below, midfielder Jonathan Danty, locks Arthur Ituria and Felix Lambi, and the flanker Alexandre Lapandri and Sekou Makulu are the others jettisoned. All 8 players broke curfew in Edinburgh following the 32-26 loss for the French to Scotland this past Sunday. World Rugby's confirmed a mistake was made by television match officials when a Wales try was controversially not awarded in their Six Nations defeat to England. Gareth Anscombe's effort during the 12-6 loss at Twickenham, when the score was a 12-0 to England, was disallowed on the basis there was no clear evidence of Anscombe grounding the ball. Head coach Warren Gatlin called the decision terrible.
It was not great. There you go, lads. You have Kenny sussed. Warm him up by talking food, says John in Limerick. Yeah, you brought up the food. We just followed your lead. Jesus, Kenny, I'd come home from playing for Tolka Rovers in the mid-1970s and there would regularly be killings because my younger brother had snared both heels of the batch, says Smithy in Swords. Happened in every household, clearly. Everyone at the heel.
Oh, yeah.
Best part.
It is.
Still is.
Though I'm surprised you're not saying toast here. I mean, I wouldn't dream of touching bread without toasting it.
Oh, God, no. It was just jam, bread and jam. That was literally it.
Yeah,
slab the butter, jam on.
Stop it here.
Why'd you say that?
It's disgusting.
I stopped eating white bread.
Disgusting.
Not going to labour it, but stopped eating white bread a long time ago. I've struggled to go back to it.
I think once you leave white bread, it's very hard to go back to it. It just
I saw somebody eating a white bread sandwich
kids.
today, and I was like, when was the last time I had white bread?
It's for children.
Yeah.
And when you bring the young fella to the pond and like don't feed white bread to the ducks, I mean, you start thinking, hello, it's
supposed to give them peas. Genuinely,
you start down.
Yeah, give them peas. The bread's bad for the ducks and that in the pond.
Stop.
It is.
You can't feed the ducks white bread. It's like
it's terrible for them.
Wipe them out.
Yeah,
that's true.
Fact. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
If you're looking to commit bird genocide, work away.
When did this emerge? This news?
Birdicide.
We'd have to
not for years, but yeah, vegetables and stuff like that. Supposed to give them peas. They love peas.
Do you know it's a terrible thing actually. The rate sports science seems to be changing and information about food. So like, I mean, it depends what year you're in if coffee's good or bad for you. Your point about not being able to eat butter or being able to eat butter, like you wonder what's in vogue now.
It's evolution, Joe. It's not vogue. It's evolution.
No, it's information. We don't evolve that quickly.
No, as the information's evolving.
Yeah, I know, but I just wish we could get to a point where we say, right, here's the finalised food pyramid. This is it. We're done. This is what we think about coffee. This is the situation with butter.
All right, Ivan. Jesus.
I you know what I mean? You're probably eating things now,
I don't know what you mean, but then the discussion came into, again, moving it on. Yeah, you may get to a position where you think, say, for example, butter, no good, ketchup, no good for you, sugar, whatever it is.
I don't think anybody at any point when ketchup's good for you.
Yeah, Kenny, come on.
No, but
or you said it was tomatoes.
But you'd regularly see around the canteens of football clubs ketchup taken out. Be no ketchup out there.
Yeah.
But then there's a psychological aspect of players actually coming in. How important the food is to players coming off the training pitch.
The Leicester thing.
And actually enjoying it. Actually coming in and enjoying your food. So yes, technically we know ketchup. We don't really particularly want, but at the end of the day, if there's an enjoyment value there, just psychologically the players come in and put a bit of that in your play in terms of what you lose and what you gain.
It's a very interesting point. Yeah, I totally know what you're saying. Even it seems one of the big issues Manchester United players had with David Moyes in his first few months was he got rid of the oven chips. And they loved their oven chips. Literally, Rio Ferdinand tells the story that when they were all in the gym on their exercise bikes and news came through Moyes had been sacked, and the first thing someone said was, well, we're getting our oven chips back. This is the kind of children you are. Yeah. But
that's probably along the lines, it seems pretty farcical, but that's along the lines of kind of what we're talking about. But I think it does matter. It's one of those things, I think, clever managers, technically they're doing the right thing, but more experienced managers may be looking at thinking, well, maybe I just got to give a little bit here in terms of the atmosphere, mood. The dynamic. Yeah, certainly the mood when the dressing room.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
Arsenal's European hopes, they've been dealt a massive blow with Alexandre Lacazette ruled up for up to 6 weeks. He had undergone minor knee surgery this morning. It leaves Arsenal light on options up front ahead of their Europa League tie with Ostersunds, with recent signing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang cup-tied.
The League of Ireland launch.
Cork City manager John Caulfield was critical of the coverage given to last Sunday's President's Cup. The double winners came from 2-0 down at the break to beat Dundalk 4-2 at Oriel Park to retain the trophy. Caulfield said today that just 4 seconds of an 8-minute TV bulletin were dedicated to the game. And speaking to Oisin at the SSE Tristty League launch, Caulfield's been outlining how he'd like to see coverage improve.
Yeah, I suppose what I mean in a nutshell, Oisin, is that I think our written media coverage of the league here is phenomenal. It's top class. I just feel that the more exposure we get on radio shows, TV shows, will enhance the game. It's a professional league. It's a top league in our country. Every country in Europe has weekly matches on TV. We don't. Yes, a lot's going for our league. Yes, we are getting a lot of coverage. I believe we should be getting more because we're the top league in the country. We're a professional league. We're playing in European football, and I just believe we need to get to the stage where we have a weekly game on TV. I don't think having a live match on a Friday night is a good idea. I think we should have a live match every Thursday night at 7:30, 8 o'clock, because all the League of Ireland football family are out supporting their teams on a Friday night, and so if I'm a manager, if I'm a supporter, I want to see the game on TV.
Yeah, it's an interesting point about Thursday night as opposed to
Thursdays
Friday.
And Mondays were the ones he threw out there today, and both of which I'd imagine are fertile ground for having games.
So the logic is your League of Ireland fans who might watch that Friday night match are supporting their own teams at the ground. So
your natural audience
diminishes the audience. Yeah, it's an interesting point. But then you're into Europa League territory, although summer football, so not really for a huge chunk of the season.
There'll be games moved here and there, but by and large, those games might be moved to a Monday if you've got games on a Thursday. So who knows?
Any last story or two you want to bring?
Dundalk continuing to add to their squad ahead of that new season. Stephen Kenny's side poised to complete the signing of former Liverpool defender Dan Cleary. The Irish underage international was recently on trial with Shamrock Rovers, having left Championship strugglers Birmingham. Dundalk begin their campaign at home to Bray on Friday night. Cork, for their part, we should mention, are away to St Pat's.
This Saturday, Off the Ball will be bringing you live updates from the RDS for Leinster Scarlets in the Guinness Pro 14. And tune in tomorrow night or keep an eye on Off the Ball's social channels to get details on how you too could be there. We are giving away a pair of match tickets, pre-match lunch for 2, a signed Leinster jersey and a Leia goodie bag with hand warmers to help you stay toasty, Kenny. There'll be a speaker, sweets and match programme. It's all with thanks to Leia Healthcare, official health and wellness partner to Leinster Rugby. So keep an eye out for that. We're taking a short break and then we're going to preview Juventus Spurs in a bit of detail. James Horncastle, Italian footballing journalist, will join us as well.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
In association with the Air Sport app, allowing you to cast your favourite sporting action from your tablet or mobile phone straight to your TV.
Lunchtime Live.
Things that might be actually semi-sensible around protecting your sexual health have been stigmatised in a way that actually being sexually active has lost the stigma, and that seems to me that we're kind of getting it a bit wrong.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. I would say that to my patients when they say that they'd never bring condoms out on the night out, and I would say to them, but you'd never forget your mobile phone, never. And a condom is a tiny, tiny, tiny